Hi, it's Jason from Blue Border Games here with another video about my game Newton Legacy. You'll have seen from some of the other videos I've done, we've talked about things like the three factions for the main game, that's the three dwarf clans. We've also looked at how the game board itself works and how we set up loot tokens and terrain tiles. Well, this video is going to be a lot more action, quite literally, because we're going to be looking at the actions that are available to each fighter during each of the game turns, with each fighter having a possibility of undertaking two. So, without further ado, let's take a look at the board. So we're back at the board for game Loot and Legacy, and as those of you who watched the setup video for the loot tokens and the terrain tiles, you'll see the four loot token setup and the four pieces of terrain we generated, the three small ones and medium. I've also set up the two forces for this demo, which are four Clan Nocturne fighters. We've got a Clansman, a Flame Gun, a Fire Acolyte, and a Temple Guard. And then we've also got four fighters for the Clan Delve faction, which is another Clansman. We've got a Miner, we've got a Mountain Warden, and we've got a Gunsmith. Now, the rules for setup of fighters are quite simple. You can only place them in the outer tiles of the board, as you see here. You can place them anywhere as long as they are not within one or an adjoining tile, to a enemy fighter. So, for example, this Clan Delve Clansman and this Clan Nocturne Clansman cannot be put next to each other, but because this flame gun is from Clan Nocturne, it's fine to put them next to the dwarf clansman from Clan Nocturne. So I'm now going to show you the actions that are available to all fighters during their activation, and each fighter gets activated once per game turn. They will have an opportunity to carry out two actions per game turn, or they can carry out one or none at all, depending on your strategy. So the first action we'll look at is move, and move relates to the value on the stat card, which for dwarves is usually always 3, and you can move orthogonally, which is sort of in a cross shape, or you can actually also move diagonally. So the first action we're going to show is that this Temple Guard, who has the initiative from the command roll that we made earlier, will now move his 3 forward, and he lands on a loot token. Now, you can only land on a loot token if you have a second action free, because the second type of action you can make is to claim a loot token, as this Temple Guard has done. Now, move actions are the only action that you can take twice. So it's the only one of all the actions that are available you can do one after each other twice in the same game turn. You cannot do two move actions with the second one landing on a loot token, because you wouldn't have a further action then to be able to claim that loot token. So, with the Temple Guard having completed his activation, it crosses over then to the Clan Delve turn for them to decide on which fighter they're going to activate. And I think I'm going to activate the Gunsmith. Now, the Gunsmith is a fighter with a ranged attack, and in order to see whether we can make a ranged attack against a target, and he's choosing the Temple Guard because he's just snaffled some loot, you have to check that you have a line of sight. Line of sight is done from center tile to center tile. So using this laser device, we can see that from the center tile of the Gunsmith to the center tile of the Temple Guard does not cross any obstructing feature. And obstructing features include other fighters or pieces of terrain. It does not include loot tokens, i.e. loot tokens do not block line of sight. So we know that that Gunsmith has a line of sight to the Temple Guard, and so is able to undertake a ranged attack action. But he's not intending to move, so before he does that, he can make a special action, which is called aim. And the reason that they do that, or we would do that, is because range adds another attack dice to your attack. So the range attack of a gunsmith is usually 2 dice, but as he did his first action was aim, he gets to roll a 3rd dice, which will now do for his attack. So, unfortunately, he's got 1 block, but he did get 2 hits. Now, in the game of Loot Legacy, using the add system, the attack defense dice, you can try to defend against any hits. You cannot defend, however, against any mighty blows with this symbol. So, the Temple Guard is actually quite a tough character, and in order for him to defend against the 2 attacks that the gunsmith made, he has a defense value of 2. So he can roll 2 dice, and he's looking for block symbols. So he rolls the dice, but unfortunately he gets a mighty blow and a hit symbol, which means he does not defend either of the hits. So he would take 2 wounds. So there we've seen the aim action and then the ranged action, ranged attack action being used in quite effective combination. Game turn goes back now to the Clan Nocturne player, and they've chosen to activate their fire acolyte. And the reason they're doing that is that spellcasters have a special action they can undertake, which is of course casting spells. Now the fire acolyte has the fireball spell, and in order to cast the spell, a spellcaster will roll an equal amount of attack dice to their bottle value. So we have 5 for the fire acolyte because their bottle value is in fact 5, and they are looking for the combination of symbols in the 3, either hits or mighty blows, as you can see on the card. So let's see if they're successful in their casting. Yes, what we have there is 3 hit symbols. So they have successfully cast that spell, and the spell reads that they make an immediate 2 attack dice attack against the miner. So we roll to see whether they get hits or mighty blows to cause any wounds. Wow, yes, they have scored 2 hits. Now, unlike ranged attacks and indeed combat attacks, you cannot defend against damage from a spell. So in this example, the miner would take 2 wounds. Now, the fire acolyte has only used one of their actions, and that was to cast spells. So they have a remaining action in their activation, and what they're going to do is just move back 2 squares to make themselves a little bit safer from the opposing enemies. So there we saw another action in the activation, which is to cast a spell. Now I'm going to show you another one using the miner. So the miner has 3 movement points, so he will use his first action to move closer to the temple guard. He's already got a couple of wounds, so let's see if we can finish him off. Now the attack dice value for a miner is 2 dice, but had he not moved this turn and used his first action to undertake another type of action called focus, which is very similar to aim with ranged attacks, he would have been able to roll an additional attack dice. But he had to move, and so he is only restricted to the natural 2 that he would normally get from his stats. But it's still 2 dice. So he rolls his dice, and he's looking for hits and mighty blows. And we have 1 good, 1 very good. Oh, sorry, 1 bad, I should say, because it's a block. So that has no effect. But this is a mighty blow, and that means that the temple guard suffers another wound. So he would have 3 wounds, and unfortunately that means he's removed from play, and there'll be assigned victory points for his defeat. And also, because he has been defeated, he would drop the loot token, and the victory points he would have got for the loot token are also lost. So there we've seen the close combat attack action, as well as how focus can be used as an action if you haven't moved. Now, play turns back to the Clan Nocturne, and it will go on so on and so forth until all fighters have been activated, and then the game turn ends. But there's one more action that I want to just show. So had the Temple Guard not been defeated, in the next turn, either the Temple Guard or the Miner could have undertaken another type of action, which is something called Withdraw. Withdraw is when you want to move away from a fighter that you're in their engagement zone. And the engagement zone is determined by all those tiles that they could naturally attack their opponent. And unless there are special rules that say otherwise, it's always going to be the orthogonal tiles around that defending fighter. So, in order to make a withdraw roll, let's say in this example, the Miner was looking to withdraw away from the Temple Guard, you would roll the number of attack dice equal to your bottle value, and you're looking to get a Mighty Blow symbol, just one. Unfortunately, he rolled 3 block symbols, which means he cannot withdraw, and he will have to stay there. And you can only make 1 withdraw action attempt per game turn. What's more is that even if you are successful or unsuccessful, you still use up an action when you make a withdraw roll. So that summarizes what actions are available to fighters during a game turn of Loot and Legacy when they are activated. We have the move action, which can be done twice. We have the ranged attack action, which can be supplemented by the aim action, should the fighter not move. We also have the close combat attack, and similar to that, we have the additional action of focus if they haven't moved. We can also cast spells as an action if we are a spellcaster, and we can capture a loot token provided we have the adhered to the movement rules. And then finally, as we've just seen, you can also make a withdraw action. I hope that gives you an idea of the sort of things you can do with your fighters during a game turn in the game Loot and Legacy. I hope it also gives you a bit of an insight into some of the rules that I've been developing for the game, which again, as I've said in other videos, focuses on it being nice and simple, using the tile-based board that we have for the game, and also as much as possible the attack defense dice, the add system. So yeah, I hope you liked the video that you've seen. If you did, please like and subscribe to the channel. Please check out all the other videos that give you a bit more information and insight into the various aspects of the game and its background. And of course, please have a look at our Facebook page as well for more news and games development as we progress. I've been Jason from Blue Border Games. Thanks for watching.